Hey everyone, my original recording of this video went on way too long, so I decided to break it up into segments. Let's pick up with our discussion of how to create force loads in Creo Simulate. Let's say I want to apply a load at a direction. I can use points for defining the vector. So let's go to force moment, and for the load, let's create load 4 as a member of a new set. And for the surfaces, let's just select a few of these different surfaces manually, these 5 surfaces. And then for, let's see, the advanced method, hey, let's bring back our coordinate system display. Too many coordinate systems visible on the computer screen. Let's go to the selected method, and let's see, let's grab the coordinate system out of the model tree, seeing as there are way too many visible. Let me turn off the coordinate system display. And for the next thing I'm going to do, I need to have some points visible on the computer screen. Oops, hold on a second, I accidentally hit the middle mouse button. So I can select the load in the model tree and edit definition. I was trying to move everything down and accidentally middle mouse clicked. All right, let's go to the drop down list for the components. Let's use direction, vector, and magnitude. Actually, I want to use direction, points, and magnitude. Let me turn on my point display is turned on. Let me find something that is hidden in the model. I have a bunch of different points created in a subassembly that's patterned 5 times. So I can define a vector. Hey, let's use it from this particular point to this particular point to define the vector, the direction. And then once again with our magnitude, we can define our force. Let's say that I'm going to do this one in dynes. And let's use a value of 987 dynes and hit the preview button. So again, the direction of those 2 points determines the vector that the load is going to be applied. All right, let's click the OK button for that one. Just a couple more things to show you in terms of defining loads in your model. Let's go to force moment and load 5. Let's create a new load set. And for the surfaces that I am going to apply the load to, let's pick this inner cylindrical surface. And you'll notice that it adds 2 surfaces to the list here because the way that Creo Parametric geometrically represents cylindrical surfaces is as 2 half cylinders. By picking one of them, it automatically picks the other. And I will use the world coordinate system, but let's go to the advanced method. And for the distribution, instead of total load, you can use methods like total load at point. And so then I could pick a point, like this point over here, and define the load at this particular location, and then it'll resolve the equivalent over that particular surface. And so let's go to something I can understand. Let's go to pounds force. And I will use, let's see, in the negative x direction, let's use a value of negative 160 pounds force, hit the preview button. So you can see if you are applying a load of 160 pounds force downward at this particular point, you can see from the preview how it would end up being applied to that particular surface at a distance. And so it's sort of a way of defining the load and having it being resolved in the particular directions. Let's click the OK button, and I am running out of surfaces to apply loads to. Let's define another force moment load, and again, for some reason I keep on creating load sets with a single load in them. For an individual surface, I'll just pick this one surface over here. Let's use the world coordinate system, then go to advanced. And another option that you have for doing the load, instead of doing total load as we have been doing, or total load at point like we just did, you can do the force per unit area, which is almost sort of a way of like defining a pressure. And so for the force per unit area, you can use a uniform spatial variation. And then I can say, all right, based on the world coordinate system, let's go in the x direction. I'm going to define the total load on that particular surface. Let's use KSI. And let's use, for that one, let's use a value of 0.321. Hit the preview button. So the total force is going to be distributed over that particular area because we're using the force per unit area. So again, with the drop-down list, you'll notice with these particular ones, rather than having things like pounds force or having pounds or dynes or newtons, here we have essentially a unit of stress, a load per unit area. So that's why you see gigapascals, megapascals, pounds force per square foot, dynes per cubic or square centimeter, PSI, and in this case, since I'm using KSI, that's thousands of PSI. All right, let's click the OK button for that particular load. And the very last load that I am going to show, let's go to force moment load, and let's apply it to the outer cylindrical surfaces. And again, I'll just use the default coordinate system. Let's go to the advanced option. And here we have total load. If you're doing a total load, you can also change the variation, the application of that load on the different surface. Same if you're doing some of the other different options like force per unit area. You'll see that if I do that, again, we can change the spatial variation. If I go into here, let's see, we have the total load at point. Well, that one doesn't allow you to do a variation. Same with total bearing load at point. Here are some options that have been added in the past few years, like ignore axial tractions and ignore circumferential tractions. But let's go back to doing a total load. And for the spatial variation, we're going to do this as a function of coordinates. And then you can define a function for how we're applying the load on the surface. So I'll go to f of x. And right now there are no functions in here. You can click on the new button, and then you can define a function in terms of the world coordinate system. And so if you click on available functional components, you get the symbolic options dialog box with your different angle functions, your hyperbolic angle functions, some of the other different functions that are available for whatever kind of math that you want to do. But let's say that I want the load to be a function of, let's see, in this particular case, x. I can say, hey, this load is going to be equal to, let's do x shift caret squared, and hit the review button and click the OK button. You can graph or create a graph of this. Let's say 0 to 10, hit the graph button. Hey, this is an x squared graph. And click done out of here, and then click the OK button. So there we have our function. Click OK out of here, and then when we hit the preview, oops, magnitude of the load is 0. Let me go to the drop-down list and go with pounds force, and let's define, in this particular case, we're going to make, let's do a load in y and make it a value of 100. And so then when we hit the preview button, you can see that the load, the actual length of the little vectors, let me zoom in over here, is getting longer in the x direction. Again, x goes up because I have the function of coordinates being x squared. All right, let's click the OK button, and those are a whole bunch of ways of defining force loads in your model. Oh wait, I lied. There's one other thing that I forgot to show you. In Creo Simulate, you are not limited to Cartesian coordinate systems. If I am in Creo Simulate, I can go to the Refine Model tab. I can create a new coordinate system, and then here it's prompting me what component I want to create this feature in. I'm going to create it in the assembly. Let's click the OK button. And then for the origin of this particular coordinate system, let me just pick the existing coordinate system in the model. Then we have a type drop-down list where instead of this being Cartesian, I can use this as cylindrical or spherical. So I'll go to cylindrical, and I'm going to leave it right at the same location as the original coordinate system. Let's go to the orientation tab. Now we can specify using the coordinate system axes if we want to rotate this about X, Y, and Z. Alternatively, you can go to references selection and you can specify, hey, I want to use this particular surface. This is going to be my Z direction. And then I can use some other flat surface in the model. I can say that this direction is going to be theta equal to 0 degrees. And then click the OK button. So now you can see the cylindrical surface in the model. Let's go to the Home tab and create a force moment load. And again, we have our name, our set. Let's just pick this cylindrical surface. And then I will change the coordinate system to selected. If you go to your model tree, we now have a folder for simulation features. That's where I can get to that Cartesian coordinate system that I created. When you're using a Cartesian coordinate system, you don't have a choice of total load. Here we have force per unit area, and instead of X, Y, and Z, we now have R, theta, and Z. So I can say, hey, let's do this in terms of pascals, and I'm going to have a value of, let's try negative 100, and then hit the preview button. So that way, again, it's sort of like having a pressure load on that particular surface since I'm doing it a negative value in the R direction. And then I can click the OK button. So in that way, I have a load using a different coordinate system. Earlier, I mentioned that it's a really good idea to rename your loads and your load sets. And you can tell if I take a look inside of here at all these different loads, hey, how do I tell one from the other, especially when I'm going to define a study? If I go to the Analysis and Design Studies dialog box, I can go to the File drop-down list and choose to create a new static analysis. And you can give it a name. You can select which constraint sets are active. And you can run all your load sets at one time. And then when you're generating your different results, you can pick which loads contribute to the results. But again, here we've got just load set 1, load set 2, load set 3. You know, it's hard to tell what these different loads are. So again, that's why it's very important that you rename the various different loads so you understand what it is. And that's especially helpful when you come back a week later, a month later, a year later to take a look at the results of this analysis and you're trying to figure out what the heck that you did. One other thing that I want to point out, you'll notice that for the components here it lists pump head. Remember when I jumped over to the other model in order to show you how to use intent references to define a load? Hey, that load from the component is available here in the assembly for the analysis. All right, let's click the OK button out of there. And again, rename your analyses and also write a description for them. Trust me on that one. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, so those are a lot of different ways to define loads. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more information, please visit www.creowindshield.com. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be informed when new videos are uploaded. Thank you very much.